Hi there! Welcome back to our course. In today's section, I would like to talk about acculturation. When people from one culture enter a new culture, they are faced with a different set of values, different behavioral patterns, and a different verbal and nonverbal communication system. In most cases, they are affected by the new surroundings. They get to learn and adopt the norms and the values of the new culture. They must find a new source of livelihood and build a new life. This adaptation to the new host culture is called acculturation. It describes what happens when people from one culture enter a different culture. And there are different levels of acculturation based on two independent dimensions. The first dimension concerns one's adoption or rejection of the host culture. The second dimension concerns the retention or rejection of one's home culture. Along these two dimensions, acculturation can be categorized into 4 degrees: assimilation, integration, separation, and marginalization. Assimilation is a process in which individuals are absorbed into the dominant culture, adopting the culture norms of the host culture over their original culture. In this case, individuals lose their original cultural identity as they acquire a new identity in the host culture. During the process of assimilation, they not only adopt the language of the host culture, but also adapt to the customs and attitude, the basic rules and the norms of the host culture. There is an ongoing effort to approach the dominant culture while discontinuing the values, beliefs, and behavior patterns associated with their native culture. Different from assimilation, which usually leads to the loss of individuals' home culture, integration refers to a situation in which people are able to adopt the cultural norms of the host culture while maintaining identity with their native culture. It usually occurs when migrants have an interest both in maintaining their original culture and language and in having daily interaction with the dominant groups. This differs from assimilation in that it involves a greater interest in maintaining one's own cultural identity. Integration leads to and is often synonymous with biculturalism. In this process, people take part in activities to interact with the dominant culture with less stress or conflict. To be sure, their successful integration of cultural skills and norms does not mean that they reject their native cultural identity. In fact, it is the bicultural identity that leads to a successful life in a bicultural context. The third level of acculturation is called separation. In this process, people reject the host culture or prefer low levels of interaction with the host culture in favor of preserving a close connection with their native culture. In this case, people may resist acculturation with the dominant culture and choose not to identify with the host cultural group. At the same time, they have strong desire to maintain their home cultural identity. A typical example of separation is the Amish, who came to the United States from Europe in the 18th century. They maintain their own way of life and identity, and avoid prolonged contact with other groups. The Amish do not participate in U.S. popular culture. They are best known for their simple living, plain dress, and reluctance to adopt many conveniences of modern technology. They don't have televisions or radios, nor do they go to movies or read mainstream newspapers or books. They choose separation, and the dominant society respects their choice. The last type of acculturation is marginalization. Marginalization occurs when individuals choose to reject both their native culture and the dominant host culture. In many cases, marginalized people give up their home culture and hope to acculturate in the dominant culture, only to find that they are not accepted by the host culture. These persons experience alienation from both the home culture and the host culture. Often, they feel a sense of abandonment. For example, the punks are a marginalized group. Actually, people sometimes combine different modes of acculturation. Their levels of acculturation can differ between their private and public life. An individual may reject the values and the norms of the dominant culture in his private life, that is, separation, whereas he might adapt to the dominant culture in public parts of his life, that is, integration or assimilation. He or she may desire economic assimilation via employment, linguistic integration, that is, bilingualism, and social separation via marrying someone from the same group and socializing only with members of their own group. If you go abroad now, what kind of situations will you be in? And what kinds of relationships can you develop with people of that culture? Please think about the questions and share your idea in the discussion board with other students.